welcome to this episode of When Friends Come Over. And Abby, my friend, who I'm guessing you're in Wales right now, right?
I'm in Wales. Yes, I would say sunny
Wow.
Wales, but it feels like autumn at the moment, and it's August, so that's fun.
Well, I'm so glad that you can come and have this conversation with me. And I wanted to talk in this episode about the goodness guide and living a life of goodness, because that is what you are all about. And a quick little
Yeah.
backstory. I've known you, I couldn't figure out exactly for how long, but what I do know is that we've had some fun moments mainly in London, in Bristol, but then in Santa Monica when you were living there. And it was Santa Monica, right?
Yeah, I can't even remember that. My memory's awful.
Yes, I came and visited you over there, and we went to a great place for a lunch or something like that in a beautiful, yeah, in Santa Monica.
Oh, amazing. Okay. I
Yes.
can't remember it, so I'm going to say it's great.
Well, I wanted to spend some time talking with you about honestly a really important topic that has become more important to me, maybe only in like the last 4 or 5 years, more intentionally and seriously. And especially, I think the difficulties that can be around friendships as well. So
Mm.
I wanted to dive into it with you, because you are now building a life around this. And congratulations on doing all of this study and the juggling of life that you would have had to have done while you were doing that, whilst navigating your other businesses and just all of the nuances of COVID and, everything like that.
Mm.
So well done to you
Thank you.
for doing all of this
Mm.
study and becoming a nutritionist. I guess, is that your qualification?
Yeah, yeah, that is my qualification.
Amazing. And I guess you're saying with it is it nutrition without the fluff?
Yes, that's my goal. I think sometimes it gets overcomplicated and it's like just going back to
Yes.
basics, educating, that's the key
Very,
form for me,
yeah.
especially more so now I'm practicing. I'm like, right, education and keeping it simple for
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. So I guess quickly, for some people who might not know much about you, why is it
Mm.
that you decided to focus on nutrition? And yeah, what is the importance of it to you?
So I focus on nutrition through my own nutrition, health journey over the last probably 10 to 15 years, probably most of my adult life, if I really sort of dived into it. I've sort of, just work situation. I've worked in the entertainment industry for 16 years, which don't work out my age, but I didn't go to university, so let's take those 2 years off. So I worked in the entertainment industry for a long time, and then I just had some health issues when I was in my early 20s, and then I got the diagnosis of having chronic fatigue syndrome at 25, and then the doctor being like, "Don't know what to do with that." He was like, "Here's some antidepressants." I'm like, "I don't think antidepressants is really going to help my chronic fatigue," but and I was just like, "No, I don't sort of receive it. Thank you. I'll do my own journey." So it was just going through my own journey. And I think it just reached a point also in my career of like, I love what I do. I love the industry I'm in, and I'm still sort of working in it. But I'm like, actually, how can I really, really help people? And so what would be my legacy, be in the future, and what things I want to change. And nutrition's so important to me because it makes me really sad, like speaking to so many people, clients, friends, families who are suffering from a lot of chronic illnesses like long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, IBS, PCOS, premenstrual issues, anxiety, and the doctors don't really have answers, because unless there's a plaster and a pill to put on something, they are struggling to work out, how to move forward with patients. People come to me and I've got long COVID and the doctor can't do anything else. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go to the bare bones of it. And I think what I'm trying to spread the word with nutrition, because I feel like when you say someone's like a nutritionist to someone, they're like, okay, well, why am I paying to see you? Because you're just going to tell me to eat 8 pieces of fruit and veg a day. And I'm like, there is so much more to what I didn't study 3 years to recommend eat 8 pieces of fruit and veg a day. What I do is like functional nutrition. But when people are really dealing with chronic issues that are stopping their day-to-day life, I sort of get to the root of their issues. So it could be a gut dysfunction,
Mm.
it could be sort of cellular issues, it could be hormonal issues, and then I get to the root of the issue, and then absolutely put a dietary protocol, because at the end of the day, whatever we're eating eating is going to
Yeah.
influence how we feel, but it could be a lot of supplements specific to things, because people are like, I'll take a multivitamin, I'll be fine. I'm like, well, not if we're targeting sort of like, I'm trying to think like a hormonal issue, like
Right.
a multivitamin isn't going to really rebalance those specific hormones that we've got to do. So and then it's like adds on lifestyle as well, because chronic stress is such a big
Oh,
issue in the day-to-day life. So it's all that sort of a bit of an overview of how I've got here, and the more and more I'm practicing and speaking to people, I'm like, wow, like there is such a lack of education on where we're up to with our health and what we eat and what's in our food, and what massive corporations are putting into our food to save them money, and
yeah.
the list goes on.
So many of the things that we have in our life that we feel really passionate about normally come from a story or an experience like you went through as well.
Mm,
So I would love to know from you, because obviously you're not just practicing it, but you're wanting to live it out for yourself as well. So what have
mm,
been the biggest benefits that you have noticed in your own life from being a lot more intentional after this,
mm.
journey that you've gone through? What have been the biggest benefits for you personally that you've noticed in your body, in your energy, in your spirit, from adapting this whole new, goodness guide lifestyle in your own personal life?
I think that's such a big question, because I think it's like it's one of those things, like, again, as you get older you realize actually having amazing friends around you, hence this podcast, it's just like, actually, because the thing is, I'm realizing it's such a journey with nutrition, and you work with different people and different things work, and you try the same things with someone else and it doesn't work. But I think the thing is also, it's like, well, who's around you? Like, have you got a network of incredible, friends or family or partners that can really support you, and are giving life to you, and it's really positive? Mindset's huge. Like, it really, honestly, the amount of people who just like, oh yeah, I want to change and I suffer from A, B, and C, and I deal with it every day, but I'm sort of going to live with it. And I'm like, but why do you just want to live with it when you can make changes and do some healing, etc.? But people want quick fixes. They
Mm,
just want quick fixes. They want to go to the doctor and they want the pill to cover whatever it is. And unfortunately, our bodies are not made like that, to just put,
yeah.
and then all the side effects to the pharmaceuticals, and then etc. And other things then escalate. But I think for my personal journey of lifestyle and healing is having a really good network of friends and family who are just like gunning for you, are so positive and are there for you, and just like literally hold your hand, like when you have flare ups. Like, I remember when I've had like bad flare ups with chronic fatigue, and like my mates just came over and cooked me food because I couldn't even eat, like cook myself food or get to the shops. And then even my parents, I honestly, I couldn't rave more and more about my parents, because and it makes me feel sad, because I know not everyone has that. Do you know what I mean? But
Mm,
maybe people have amazing partners, so it could be anything. But I feel like nutrition, diet is great, but it's also people around you, and it's a positive outlook that there is a brighter future, and there's things that you can change to build your future.
mm. It's so true about having, the right circle, community, friends around you, because I so recognize that you want to be able to feel comfortable. I know for me, the lifestyle choices I've now made, when I go to a restaurant, if I'm by myself, it's fine. I want to be me. But
Mm,
when I'm with other people, and maybe my order is going to take a little bit longer, because I want to make sure that
mm,
what I'm getting is what I'm wanting to put in my body. I don't want to just accept that. But I know
mm,
sometimes people can feel really uncomfortable because they want to choose maybe the things that sound a bit more high maintenance in their order, because they want to know what
mm.
they're getting. So I'm just curious, like, in that situation, have you come across that? But then I also know, when you're with the right people, yeah, it's going to take longer to order, but we're all going to be happy and we're all supporting each other. So you just feel so aligned with those people, rather than the ones that are like, make you feel bad if you
Mm.
feel like, oh no, my order is going to take too long, so I'm a bit embarrassed because I'm not being
Yeah,
celebrated. Hey, that's for sure what I
yeah.
recognize with all of that.
With eating out and picking and choosing,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think the thing is, and it's really hard. It's like, even for me as a nutritionist, I love the odd, not often, but Prosecco. Like, I just do. I've always enjoyed it. It's not something I sort of go crazy at, but just now and again, you sort of have to just be like, so I'm gluten free, and I'm like, that's just, it is what it is. And
Mhm.
either get on board with it or not. And, but equally, I think it's a thin line. I think if you're doing sort of with the nutrition, it's like I do specific, any nutritionist, you do specific healing for that problem at the time, and hopefully you support it so well that it's no longer an issue later on. I think where it becomes an issue is the obsessiveness of like, and I've
Right.
been there when I first had chronic fatigue. Oh, the diets I tried, oh my gosh, everything, the FODMAP, the keto, celiac, oh no, oh, it was so much. And then that causes stress in your body, and it
Yeah.
becomes a bit obsessive. And I think this is where it's really good to work with any nutritionist. I say not even me, just any nutritionist, because actually they'll get you on the right path, and then you're not trying every different thing, and you're not getting obsessive about different things. It's like, actually, this is what fuels and what you need for your body right now, type thing. So and yeah, just having the right people. It goes back to people as well, who's around you, who are going to support you in that journey, because people are negative or they don't buy
Mm.
into it, and they're feeding your mental state as well. That's challenging.
Yeah. Is it I've started a tradition in this podcast where I want to give the person I'm having a conversation with a scenario. And so the
Mm.
scenario I want to give you, Abby, is that you're with some people that maybe you see them regularly, maybe not, but you just recognize that they are really, and obviously when you're so passionate about something, so you're so clearly passionate about
Mm.
nutrition, which there's going to be a lot of language that just is going to go over people's heads because you
Totally.
know all of that, and you want to try and find a way to simplify it and make it no fluff, but there's still going to be a bunch of things that people just aren't going to understand for cultural reasons, all of that. But say you're in a situation with some people and you've known them for a while and you love them so much, and you just really recognize how unhealthy some of their lifestyles are, but you don't want to coerce them, as as either just as a nutritionist or just as someone who just recognizes, like, stop doing this. There's lots of things that we should maybe stop doing, but
So many scenarios are coming into my head.
I
That's why I'm
know.
laughing. So I'm like, I've been, yeah, I totally get
And it's
it.
that whole, let's look at ourselves first. I'm very aware that, before we can start picking at other people's little things that we might not
Yeah.
agree with, there are going to be things in us as well. But I'm just curious, in a situation where you just recognize that you could see a better path, especially when it comes to food and what you're putting in your body and in your mind, what would you do in that situation where you don't want to coerce these people, but what are little things that you would do as a friend to just subtly influence them to make the better choices?
Honestly, and this has changed recently. I would say that the past year it's changed. Honestly, I would do nothing, which sounds a bit mad, but I think when I was studying and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like crazy, because you learn so much. Like, and it was 3 intense years of studying, and you learn so much. You're like, everyone should know this. Like, everyone's got to know what's going into their food, like what these companies are putting into it. Like, we're eating plastic, and this isn't organic, and there's pesticides. And honestly, you could scream it from the rooftop. And I was more like that. And it's interesting. The last few months. It's still a journey, but I've just, unless people ask, there is no point, because it's exactly what you just said. It goes over people's, unless people are really interested. And even then, it's like I have, and then when people ask, I have friends like ask me, oh, should I go on this supplement or that supplement? And even then, I'm like, until I do, because my initial consultation's an
Yeah.
hour and a half. You fill out a massive form before. So I literally know your illness is from a baby to here, to be like where you've got to, and you see the triggers. So until I know that, I can't even recommend
Mm.
like a supplement, like even legally, like insurance wise, I can't really do that. And I just think I've learned, I can preach from the mountaintop of what I've learned. But unless people are engaged and want, more than anything, want to change and make
Mm.
those changes, there's just no point. And then, because I think I was getting really frustrated, because It's like I was telling people, because I think it's like anything, when people learn new things or like they've seen something on YouTube or a podcast, they're like, you have to listen to it. Oh my gosh, it'll change your life, it'll change your life. And then you can ram it down people's throat. But unless they're prepared to hear it or listen or change, it's just too exhausting. And I think I just
Yeah.
realized, I'm like, if this is my full-time job, I can't live like this, because it's just like it's too much. So that's sort of the long answer to
But
that.
that's,
It's like,
I think that's also such a great answer that actually the best, I guess to me, it's about piquing people's curiosity, is giving them a
mm,
tiny hint to then get it, letting them, empowering them to ask for more. And being
mm,
in that energy of like, you know where I am, you know that I'm
yeah,
easily able to connect with. There's no like, yeah, there's no sense of hesitation that you couldn't contact me if you're curious about this. And I think that's
exactly.
where it's, I love, I don't know, I'm going to butcher the saying, but it's that whole, you want to practice it, you don't want to necessarily preach it. So if you're living it
Yeah.
yourself and you're living in a lifestyle that people are like, you know what, I really love the way that Abby does this, and the way that she like just lives this rather than necessarily makes me want to like, you know, tell me everything about it but not actually live it herself. So I
Mm,
think I absolutely think saying nothing was a really great answer, because if anything, people will watch you and be influenced by you and then go, you know what, I know who to go to when I'm ready for that.
yeah. Yeah. It's like just being available and being like, yeah, I'm here if you need me.
Yes. Or as well, and just knowing that when other people mention those topics, them already knowing, oh, I know someone else who's interested in this too. I think
Yeah.
it's so important for us to be able to share the things that we're passionate about. So for me, instantly, I was like, you know what? I would love to just, I think that when friends come over, talking about health and nutrition is important. I instantly knew, oh, of course, Abby would be the first person in my head, because I know she's so passionate about it and that's what she's living. And that's, but because you were already a friend, you were the person that I was like, oh, of course I'd want to reach out to Abby because she's so passionate about it and lives it. So it was a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
Oh, thank you. I tried.
What is it that you would have wanted to have known that you know now that you wish and could have put into practice 10, 15 years ago?
Health wise?
Yeah, or I guess like if there was just one really practical thing that you've learned in the last, 4 or 5 years that you just like, wow, if I had been doing this, for me, I recognize intermittent fasting. I could have been
Mm,
doing that for like 7, 8 years. Like I love doing it now. It's
yeah.
such a great lifestyle for me. But I was like, dang it. I would tell my younger self like a few of the benefits of that. So yeah, I'm just curious if there was any
Yeah.
little things that you're kind of like, if I could tell someone else who maybe on similar health patterns to me, if I could just tell them,
Mm.
hey, by the way, give up all soft drinks, you don't need them, or something like that.
That's a tricky one, because a few things come to mind. So I think the first thing, it's hard to say little things. I think if I knew what I wish, regret, you can't really go back. And science changes so much, especially in
Sure.
in my industry. The health and well-being changes like anything. Like 1 minute it's like everyone should have kombucha and fermented foods, but like through my studies, I'm like, well, actually, no. If you've got bad gut bacteria, you're making it even more worse. So it's like everything changes and there's trends and stuff. I I would have liked when I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue. I wish when I because I did see a nutritionist, but I wish I took advice on doing functional testing, like really go testing like gut tests, cellular tests. That at the time I was like, they're so expensive. I don't need them. I don't need to pay for because no different. You're like, no
Sure.
different. So that's why it's very hard now with clients. I'm like, honestly, I can guess all day and I've got a pretty good inclination of what's going on. But if we can do the test, then I 100% know and I can put you on like the most accurate sort of protocol because we know what we're dealing with rather than making things up. Not that you're making things up, but it's like anything like the doctor until you do a blood test, you don't know if you're
Sure.
vitamin D deficient or iron deficient. It's like testing is really key. So it's using the science in that way. I truly believe if I did functional testing when I was 25, I would have been healed within a year. Absolutely, without a doubt. But whereas I've had to go do it the hard way, and sort of like what we like 11 years later now, sort of, and that's for the last couple of years. I've done so much functional testing. I'm like, I know what I'm dealing with, and that's why I'm like, pretty much chronic fatigue, is gone type thing, because I've done that. So I think that's one thing. If you were saying just for the general, general public, okay, what's one thing? I didn't really like carbohydrates, man. Carbs and sugar are the drivers of so many disease, of gut issues, glucose issues, adrenal issues, because the Western society, we are driven by carbohydrates. And carbohydrates like vegetables and whole grain stuff like brown rice and whole grain and sourdough bread, fantastic because it's full of fiber and nutrients. But we've got the refined sugar, we've got these refined carbohydrates, and they lead to so much disease and issues in your body that it's a bit like, and I was, and again, when I had chronic fatigue, I was just feeding off sugar because I was like, I was struggling so much. So I was like, Mars bar, da, da, da. And it was just feeding actually all my issues. Whereas like having more of a balanced diet with the protein and fats and good carbs, then you sort of got more of the balanced diet. So I feel like that has been a big learning, the last 5 years of just actually sort of just knowing what you're putting into the body and balancing sort of the diet plan. Because refined carbs, sugar, I mean, the articles are everywhere to say what it leads on to sort of health wise. So
I guess again it comes back to that mindset and who you're around as well, in terms of like, especially because a lot of those things are the instant gratification. They are the thing that sells easily. They're always accessible. They're the thing that's available. You go to those convenience stores and, I mean, very small example, but you go to a convenience store. I don't think I saw one bit of dark chocolate in a random convenience store. And I was really craving dark chocolate the other night. And the closest convenience store had no dark chocolate. And I was like, no, okay, I won't get it. So, but I guess it's just one of those things that we are so easy to go to whatever is convenient and available, and cheap. So I guess it is that trying to rewire your brain to know the what's the saying about the hold on, I'll think of this. Short-term, long-term gain, that like short-term, what does that say? What is the
short-term pain for long-term gain?
Your short-term pain for long-term gain.
Is that
like,
it?
This is gonna something like that. The short-term pain for long-term gain, that you're gonna have a little bit of pain and discomfort right now by saying no.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on a side note, have you heard of the book The Compound Effect?
No.
Oh, I mean, it's just that whole micro choices that you make every single day are going to point you in one or another direction, sort of thing. So if you choose to have McDonald's every single day, it's going to point you very differently to if you choose to have, the right foods in your body. It's very much those micro decisions that you make. So saying no today is going to help you say no tomorrow, and to all of those refined sugars. So great. Yes. Okay. So basically,
but I think it's finding alternatives, though. I was going to say it's finding alternatives, because I think the thing is, it's a bit like, it's really hard if someone's like loves chocolate, because I'm not a sweet tooth. I've always had a salty tooth, so mine's more like crisps and cheese, and you say I'm such a savory person. So, but and so it's hard sometimes to get my head around it. But some people just do have a sweet tooth; they just do. And I think the thing is, it's even with clients, they're like, I'm really struggling, and they're stressed because I've got this protocol, and then they're like, I really want to do it, I really want to heal, but I'm just struggling at the moment. And I'm like, do you know what? Be kind to yourself. Like, be so kind to yourself, because everyone, we don't have great days every day. That would be lovely if we did, but sometimes there's not great days, especially when you're battling certain illnesses or symptoms or issues. And so it's like, if you need to go off the wagon a day or two to go back on it again, that's fine as well, because all it does is build up this really intense stress in your body, which is also not good for your health. And just again, for your mental health, like it's sort of balancing it, and it's finding alternatives. And it's like, again, if you love chocolate, a piece of dark chocolate is really good for you. If it's good, because there's not much sugar in it, and cacao is brilliant for you. And it's like, it's just finding other alternatives that might have sweetness in it, but it's not going to be like the refined sugary bar and stuff. And I
Right.
think, and that's the thing, when I first started, I was that person was like, right, I'm not touching anything. And I was so intense. And I've just learned that actually intensity just builds more intensity. And
Yeah.
it just, and
It
so
doesn't
actually
last.
it just, it's, and you're just not, you feel a very intense person. And
Yeah.
I think it's just being so kind to yourself and just be like, okay, what do I need today? What do I sort of like want? And just if you do go off the wagon with something naughty, you just get back on it when you're feeling in a better space. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
It's so true. It is about I guess, just creating the new habit loop for sure. So I knew for me,
Mm,
I can eat, like, if I give up milk chocolate, something else is going to have to be in replacement for it. And so,
exactly. Yeah.
absolutely replacing it with dark chocolate. Okay, I want to ask you, Abby, about gut health, because like you were saying
Mm,
with kombucha and things like that, because
mm,
we see everything of like, yeah, kombucha must be good for us because
yeah.
it's the good kind of stuff. So it's a good alternative, but not knowing your
Yeah.
body first before you start seeing, even if they are good things, you should know your body first
Mm,
to decide whether or not you put that
mm,
into your body. So as someone who may but not know the importance of looking after their gut and looking after their gut health,
mm.
what would be like a really simple thing that you would say to me or to someone listening that would just pique my interest of wanting to know more about the importance of it?
Okay. So the reason why the gut is so focused on with everyone now, because your gut is 70% of your immune system, and it creates 95% of your serotonin, which is your happy hormone. So
Oh,
the
okay.
reason I believe there's a lot of immune issues is because you've got poor gut health. And also, it's amazing how there's a lot of mental health. And by the way, mental health, there are so many elements to it. So, disclaimer on that, therapy 100%, getting to the root of issues. But I'm like, it's no coincidence that if 95% of your serotonin, your happy hormone, is being created in your gut, if that's not optimal, then that's going to knock onto your mental health, because it's the gut brain axis that's been talked
Mm.
about, because you've got this vagus nerve from the top of your brain to your gut. And if this isn't functioning and flowing, it just affects everything. I think what I've noticed with people when I speak to them, they're like, oh, my doctor sent me to a gastroenterologist over here, but I also have like I'm trying to think. So there's a gut there, and then maybe like hormonal health over here. So I'm seeing, what are they? It's got out of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The doctors, and it's just like it's so. Doctors see they have specialists for different organs, pretty much. So they're like, see this person, see this, but again, as a nutritionist, we see things as a whole, a bit like everything's a whole. And the gut, I always start at that point with every client. I will hammer the gut and I'll be asking about their stools, how often they pass them, what they're like, what the smell is, everything. And people are like so embarrassed. And I'm like, trust me, I talk about poo every day now. It's like such a common thing for me, because I'm like, you got to get to the root of it. So that's the importance of it, is the immune health. And I do think a big element of mental health, as well as I said, everything else that comes around it, with exercise and endorphins and therapy and all that kind of stuff. So what I would just say to people is that's the importance of it. If you want one tip that is generic, that I feel like whatever issues you've got going on should be fine, I would say 8 portions of fruit and veg a day, making sure the fruit is more on the 2 portion size and the veg is on the 6 portion size. Just reason being is you got fiber. It's got prebiotics. It rebuilds your gut barrier, and it's just got lots of benefits to it. So if that's just a generic tip, that's sort of my thing.
Super helpful. I think sometimes as an adult, oh yeah, I've got to eat my fruits and veg. But sometimes I think it's good to
Mm,
have a reminder of the ratio of just even that. I'm like going, wow, I think I did overload it on fruit a lot lately. Yeah, okay. So super helpful. I've definitely taken that away. I want to wrap it
Yeah.
up. And so I just want to ask you, Abby, what would be one or two ingredients that you put into your everyday to make it a day full of goodness?
Great question. Rather than food ingredients, I would say fresh air, getting outside and walking. Like if you're able to get, it's hard because everyone's schedule's so different. If you've got kids, if you've got early morning starts, I totally get it. I work remotely, so I've got the luxury of rearranging my schedule. But I just think getting up and out at least some point in the day, I think it just not think it does calm your nervous system and it just helps you breathe, especially if you're a bit more in nature. Sort of I just think it just really resets because again, you can have all the nutrition in the world, but if your lifestyle doesn't help alongside it, it's not going to work. So I think fresh air, getting in nature every day, and then your 2 liters of water. I mean, I've already said the fruit and veg, so I'm going to go with 2 liters of water just because, again, I have clients that are like, I'm so lethargic and I'm so tired. I'm like, well, how much water do you do? They're like, probably about 500 mils, like two glasses and then like a load of coffee. And I'm like, okay, how are you surviving? Because it's like without being hydrated, yeah, you've got low energy, low mood. It's not getting rid of toxins. It's so yeah, your 2 liters of sort of water would be my tips.
Wow. I think if anything, the things that we for sure, I guess, know, but just being reminded of it is so helpful. And just something that I think because we can get into such a routine and such a habit. So sometimes I think even these conversations are just reminding for me going, actually, when was the last time I checked any of my levels? Like I know I'm low in iron and I've chosen to be a vegetarian, but when have I actually then thought about rechecking that? So I just want to say thank you so much, Abby. Thank you for investing the time and that you have put to not just reinvent yourself, but obviously the industry you were in and still are in, but now stepping into a new one and reinventing yourself in that way. So I celebrate you for that. I thank you for being a part of this little conversation, and thank you for being up for it. And yeah, I'm sure we may have some more things to dive into in the future.
Amazing. Thanks, Hannah.